Today I would like to share with you 5 tips or tricks which I often use in my crochet, but I don't really show them in my tutorials. And the reason I don't do that is not because these are some secret tips that I don't want to share with anybody else, but simply because if I did, my videos would be very long and very repetitive. But I do want to share these tips with you because they are quite helpful, quite useful, and they can definitely improve the quality of crochet. Number 1. Oftentimes I make the beginning chain with a slightly larger size hook than the hook that I'm going to crochet that piece with. I use a slightly larger size hook when I crochet with 100% mercerized cotton because it is not very stretchable and it can be quite difficult crocheting into that original chain with the same size of hook. The chains come up a little bit too small and too tight. Also, I use a slightly larger hook when I know that my project is gonna be such so that I will be crocheting into the original chain from the other side. It's like you crochet on one side of the chain and then you crochet into the bottom side of the chain as well. And in that case, it's also good to start your chain with a slightly larger hook size. Number 2, I always add 2 extra chains to my starting chain, and it's especially helpful when you are working with a starting chain that is quite long, because then when you crochet the first row you might find out that you missed a chain or 2, and it's always nice to have those extra 2 chains which then you can easily undo instead of undoing your entire first row. Here I'll show you an example. When I crocheted this piece, I had to start with 93 chains, but I actually started with 95 chains. So here I have 2 extra chains that I did not use, and now it's very easy to undo them. I use a tapestry needle to untie these 2 extra chains. That's 1. That's 2. Number 3, it's the way I insert the hook when crocheting into the chain. So there are 2 ways to crochet into the starting chain. The first one is when you insert the hook under one loop only. There's gonna be 1 loop above the hook and 2 below it. And the second way is to insert the hook under 2 loops this way. So then you have 2 loops above the hook and only 1 below. And in my tutorials, I pretty much always insert the hook under the 2 loops. However, when I work on my crochet projects, oftentimes I would insert the hook under 1 loop only. If I know that I will be crocheting into the original chain, for example, let's say I'm making a baby blanket and then I will be crocheting around the perimeter of the baby blanket, and in that case I will be crocheting into the original chain again. So in that case, I start my project by inserting the hook only under 1 loop, and then as I crochet the border, I'm gonna be crocheting on the other side of the chain, and that way I will insert the hook under 2 loops. However, if I know that I'm making a piece, crochet piece, that I'm not gonna do anything with the starting chain anymore, let's say I'm making a scarf and that's gonna be the edge of my scarf, in that case I will insert the hook under 2 loops, 2 loops on the top and just 1 loop on the bottom. Number 4, a beginning double crochet at the beginning of the row. In my video tutorials, most of the time I start each row with 3 chains which count as first double crochet. Oftentimes I start with the beginning double crochet, which is made the following way. I pull up the loop a bit higher. With my middle finger, I hold the loop on the hook so it doesn't move, doesn't slide. Then I wrap that loop around the hook. Then I insert the hook into the first stitch and draw up a loop. And then I finish my beginning double crochet as a regular double crochet. I use both ways to start a row of double crochets. I would start with a beginning double crochet when I work on a project that I know that I'm not gonna crochet into the ends of rows. This is gonna be my edge. For example, let's say I'm making a lacy scarf and I don't intend to make a border around it. This is gonna be my edge, and for that beautiful straight edge, I would make a beginning double crochet at the start of the row. However, if I know that I will be crocheting into the ends of rows, oftentimes I would use 3 chains instead of the beginning double crochet. Another time when I use 3 chains instead of the beginning double crochet is when I know that I'm going to have 2 crochet pieces which I'm going to stitch together, and I find it a bit easier to stitch the edges of 2 crochet pieces when there are chains over here instead of the beginning double crochet. Number 5, at the end of the row, making the last double crochet into the second or middle chain of turning 3 chains instead of making it into the top or third chain. I'm going to demonstrate it on this piece that I'm working on. So here I have rows of double crochets, and here the last double crochet is actually turning 3 chains, and usually the last double crochet is made into the top of those 3 turning chains right here, like this. But I don't like the edge that it creates, so instead I'm making that last double crochet into the second or the middle chain of those 3 turning chains. And this way I get a much nicer edge.